Hello students, welcome to week 3 of Psychology as a Science and Profession. This week is a little bit shorter because we have a holiday on Monday, so even though you can obviously do your work on Monday, I've scheduled the week out to give you just a little less work. That basically comes in a little less reading for this week. So this week we don't have any readings from the chapters in your textbooks. Do make sure you get those textbooks this week though, because next week we will have more chapters in the textbook to read. So the Dunn and Howland is definitely the one to emphasize getting earlier rather than later. But yeah, at this point I can't share any more textbook chapters, so make sure you've got that by the end of this week so you can get a start on reading in week 4. So for this week you have an article to read, an article by Lilienfeld. It talks a little bit about some of the topics we've been discussing so far and kind of goes beyond that, about the perception of psychology just in the world for lay people. That is what your initial discussion board post is on, as well as your PEP assignment 3, kind of discussing those topics. So another thing that we'll do this week is start working towards your literature review paper. So the lit review paper is a long paper that you will be working on the entire semester. It's a really great assignment, and I've set up the course really well to give you like step-by-step pieces to get. So make sure you're doing all these assignments up to the final literature review, because there's a lot of steps in writing a good literature review. And it's a lot easier to read and grade good papers than papers that aren't so good. So if you're keeping on track, working on this piece by piece as we go through the semester, then your papers are going to be fantastic at the end. And I really hope you take away from this class some good ways to communicate about science and about psychology and about research. And this paper and the presentation on it later on are really going to help with that, with building that skill. So this week you have a lecture that will focus on that. So I will jump to the modules and show you what everything is. So we've got the introduction that I'll show you in a second. You can link to the Lilienfeld article right here. There's a lecture on that Lilienfeld article. There's also a lecture on finding valid sources, your discussion board, your PEP3 again on that same article, and then choosing a topic for your lit review is one of the big assignments this week. So looking here in the introduction page, probably where you're seeing this video, so you can link to that Lilienfeld article here as well. A reminder for the assignments that I just mentioned, the PEP3, as well as choosing a topic for your lit review. Your discussion board is linked right here, and I wanted to prime you on the length of these lecture videos. So the Lilienfeld discussion is an hour, and the finding peer-reviewed research is about an hour as well. So make sure that you're doing those earlier. Make sure you do the Lilienfeld one earlier. The one about finding research articles, you can do that a little later in the week. That should be fine, because mainly this choosing a topic for your lit review. I'll open up that assignment here. So choosing a topic for your literature review, make sure you read over this document. It's not just a one sentence like this is my topic. This page, essentially, I also want to see some of your brainstorming, like why are you thinking about this topic? Why is it interesting to you? Did you do any quick research to make sure you have articles about it? So if you do a quick search, which I suggest you do after seeing that lecture on how to find valid sources, do a quick search. See if you can find some good papers about it, at least a few. You don't necessarily have to download them and read them right now, but if you search and you only find 2 articles, then it might suggest to you that maybe that topic is a little too specific. You might want to broaden it out. Or if you find 1 billion articles, then you probably want to narrow it down and focus your question and your interest a little more. So here are a couple example topics. Mindfulness interventions. What ones exist, what ones work, things like that. You might find a good number of articles and be able to kind of, from this point, narrow in a little more even. So what does social psych say about relationships with a partner? If that's something of interest to you, searching for terms that might bring that kind of thing up, and that'll give you an idea if is this topic useful, is it not? You probably don't use these topics. These are just example topics unless it is really of interest to you. But think of things that are of interest to you because this paper is, again, a semester long. So we're starting work on it now, and we're going to finish with a really great paper at the end of this semester. So make sure this is a topic that really is interesting to you. That'll help with your intrinsic motivation to be doing this, especially when we don't have an in-class period, with this being online class, so that you'll be motivated on your own to work on this. And hopefully you have a really fantastic paper at the end of it, and you've learned a lot about psychology and about that specific area in psychology. So again, read over this and think about what you'll search for. So there's less reading this week for the assignments, but again, those lectures are each about an hour long, so make sure you plan for that as well. And good luck. I hope you pick some really interesting topics. I'm really excited to see what you're interested in researching so that we can get to work on these papers.